This simple idea changed absolutely everything for me. I think it can help. Let's take a look at some of the root causes behind the absolute insanity that we see today, and then lay out a case for how our behavior in the studio can address that. So Carl Jung has this concept of mass psychosis. Listen to me. Listen to me. It's impossible not to see it. If you're paying attention at all, it's impossible not to see it. We're all prisoners of our time. We're products of the time we live in. Unfortunately, we're living through what Carl Jung would say is a period of mass psychosis. It's a severe mental condition in which thought and emotions are so affected that contact is lost with external reality. This is important, so I'm going to slow down for a minute. I want you to think about this. The overwhelming majority of our public have lost contact with reality. If you look around you, you're going to see that. I don't care what side of the political divide you fall on. I'll bet you see it too. We're living in a postmodern hellscape. So let's systematically step through the root causes of the problems and a potential solution for the artist. Ideas have consequences. If you close your eyes, when you open them up and look around, you're looking at the realm of human ideas, the fruits of human ingenuity and imagination. What we think about as a species fabricates the world. It fashions the material. In some really real ways, life has never been so good for so many, and yet at this moment, it feels very much as if our world is on the verge of being torn apart. The simple idea that changed absolutely everything for me. The fundamental issue revolves around the notion of postmodern truth claims. So don't black out when I start talking about postmodern truth claims. Philosophy has a profound effect on what goes on in our lives. So postmodernism, the philosophy of postmodernism, makes certain claims about the nature of our reality. You can see that play out across our culture. So don't black out when I start talking about that. It has an effect on what happens in the studio.
Yeah. Sleep is to death. Dude, I don't know, man. My energy's off now.
But more importantly, it has an effect on the absolute insanity that we see around us and their relationship to the real. That objective reality that exists independent of the self, that is at least in part knowable through logic, reason, and the human intellect. Postmodernism makes a set of claims about truth that are incredibly dangerous and have had a disastrous effect on our culture. We are living in a postmodern hellscape. Those are just facts. This is it. This is an arrow right through the heart of the issue. Michel Foucault, there is no such thing as truth. There are only regimes of power. Those who are in power determine what is true. This is the central issue.
My truth. My truth.
My truth.
My truth.
I know my truth. My truth.
My truth. My truth.
My truth. My truth.
My truth. I'm speaking my truth. Truth.
Truth.
My truth. My truth.
My truth.
My truth. That's my truth. My truth. Your truth.
My truth. To stand in my truth.
There's my truth, there's your truth, that everything is subjective.
Another huge problem. Derrida, good and evil, right and wrong, good and bad are not natural categories. They are not naturally derived. They are social constructions, and they are relative. Postmodern philosophy makes the claims that there is no objective reality, that there is no scientific or historical truth, that science and technology and even reason and logic are not vehicles of human progress, but suspect instruments of established power. Recently, I made a print entitled I Hate Marcel Duchamp. Last weekend, I was in Boston and I gave a lecture. In the question and answer period, when I showed this print, I was asked, do I in fact hate Marcel Duchamp? I hate the scourge of conceptualism and what it has wrought on the studio. There is a very simple way to debunk these claims. So when the tiger ate Roy from Siegfried and Roy,
Gandhi, no. Gandhi. No.
Well, here we see a woman being dragged by her own tiger. Now, if there is no objective truth and no objective reality, ask the woman when she is in a life or death situation whether or not that was a real event that happened independent of her perspective. The other thing that we can rely on to debunk these claims is that any human being who has lived long enough has watched or has felt powerless in the face of someone they love being stricken or being diagnosed with an incurable disease or being stricken and dying. Those things are not, they are material and real. They exist outside of the self, and they are not dependent upon power relationships. They are not dependent upon they're not relative to perspective, and they suggest that there is a material reality that exists independent of the self that is at least in part knowable through human intellect, and that the most effective way that human beings can come to know that is through logic and reason. Those ideas are absolutely set up in opposition to postmodernism. So what's the single idea that changed everything? It's to not believe the bullshit. Don't believe the hype. Look critically at our culture. Everything in our culture teaches you. Everything in our culture teaches you that reality is, that you're the center of the universe, that you determine what's real, that you're the decider. They talk about my truth. That's complete bullshit. There are truths that are beyond the self. There is good and bad in this world. It's an evil world we live in, future. The point being that the artist's work, the stuff that goes on in the studio, can be a kind of finger. It can be a finger pointing to something that is real. So to strive to understand the truth, to strive to understand those things that are true and material and that exist outside of the self.